Monk. Good evening, Hare Krishna. Welcome to Wusa's Wisdom Readings. Today is Thursday, and we are coming at you live from Wusa House and from different locations. Today we're having the book club experience live with all of you. Of course, it's a little different. Generally, we're reading from the Krishna book, but we've just completed the Isopanisad. And today we want to just go through the different mantras and revisit some points that may have come up for the different speakers as we went through this powerful, powerful book. It's 18 mantras, including the invocation, makes it 19. And it has taken us over 2.5 weeks to go through it. So I'd like to welcome all of you. We'll be bringing in the different devotees who take part in the readings, as well as the book itself. So thank you for joining us. If you will catch it live, all the best, share it with your friends. And if you catch it later, also leave us your comments. Thank you for joining us this evening. So let us see. Our friends are there. I see Kolofelo.
Sanbonan. Good evening. It's good to be here.
Same. Today is a little different from our regular book club. And we're just tapping into the different experiences that we've been through reading the book. And I think also if some questions that came up, what we'll do a revision with the people. We'll all get a chance to read a particular mantra and share some thoughts on that. So let us see. There is the Isopanisad. So Sri Isopanisad, the knowledge that brings one nearer to the Supreme Personality of Godhead, Krishna. So very straightforward, the way Prabhupada has rendered it. What is the aim of this book? It is to bring one nearer to the Supreme Personality of Godhead. And who is that? That is Krishna. So it began with an introduction. I think Kulufelo, if you remember, you took us into that.
Yes, I took you through the introduction. And the introduction was basically, I think it was by His Grace, His Divine Grace, A.C. Bhaktivedanta Swami. And he was actually giving some teachings about the Vedas at Conway Hall in London in 1969 on the 6th of October. And that's where he actually goes through the Vedas and why the Vedas are there and how important the Vedas are to spiritual life and why ISKCON is actually centered around the Vedas and what the Vedas actually require a person to do, some of like really, really great points. He basically sums up what is to come in the Sri Isopanisad mantras, in that introduction.
I remember some powerful points from the establishing the 4 defects.
Yes, the 4 defects are the first ones that he actually starts with, that a person is bound to make mistakes, they always have a propensity to cheat. Those were some of the things that he actually noted in like the beginning of the whole thing, just to sort of like give people an idea as to why we are who we are and who and what we actually, and that we are illusioned, in the life that we live, and why we are illusioned, and what can actually take us out of that illusion is to actually know the knowledge that is being shared in the Vedas. you know um
It was a humbling point I
Mistakes,
found.
yeah, mistakes, illusion, propensity to cheat, imperfect senses, and these are some of the things that he actually delves into, into the mantras, and opens them up and gives us like a clearer idea of why we are so conditioned, and why there's material nature which is there for us to actually be in that kind of state, until such a point where we actually come across real knowledge and the absolute truth. And that's when we will actually start realizing that, yeah,
I see
this,
normal is coming, but
yeah,
is slowly coming in. I remember one of the points there was that because we have these imperfect senses, we cheat, we get illusioned, and we make mistakes. Then we can't give perfect knowledge, and
that's
so then establishing that the Vedas are the sources of this perfect knowledge. So it's like before we begin this whole book, then
mm,
why should we take this knowledge?
mm,
Is that
mm,
we ourselves can't get it because we
mm,
have these defects.
mm.
But here are the Vedas, and they are considered to be, what's the term, apurusheya. They are, even though they may sometimes seem to say contradictory things. That example is always nice.
Yeah,
Uh, like, well, you remember that one of that stool. If you touch stool of an animal, then you're considered unclean. You have to take a bath.
unclean. Yes.
But
And when
then
you
the
touch the
stool of the
stool
cow,
of cow, yes, yes. It's a
then
different story.
Nomsa, how are you doing? Welcome, Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna. I'm listening in. I'm doing well. I've had a hectic day, so I'm just happy to hear from the both of you in the sharing. It's very nice. And also just wanting to comment on like how some of the things may seem contradictory, but if you understand like what you're talking about, the cow stool and other a stool of other animals and the
Mm,
cleanliness, someone might come across and say, but it's still stool. Why are you cleanly in one and then in the other you are considered to be clean, even pure,
mm,
even holy in some
Mm,
instances, but it's the content of the kind of stool.
mm.
It's an antibiotic. Even in African culture, it's used as an antibiotic. So, but there might be some
I
people
think
who
an
say,
antiseptic, no?
yeah,
Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah,
And I mean, I don't know if you recall, Masikula, that oblong or bubukona, so that they
yes,
use it in the kitchen, they use it to
yes,
cook. And
yeah,
just even as a kid,
yeah,
if you walk through cow dung, I don't remember feeling like so grossed out, like, yuck.
exactly,
And no
exactly.
one had told me anything about it, but just somehow it was just kind of
Mm.
almost like known from inside somewhere that this is not like any stool, you can walk on it, you can be.
Mm. And one of the things, I used to go to Emakaya, every December.
Mm,
And when we get to Emakaya, one of the duties that we had to do besides cow herding was to
mm,
go to the field and actually get cow dung and
mm,
collect it and then bring it back home. And they would use that cow dung to actually, spread it in the veranda,
mm,
and it was something that was decorative in the veranda. And
mm,
only now I actually got to know about the antiseptic qualities, and how very, very clean, and how it kept the space clean, from quite a whole lot of influences, some of them being spiritual, you know. So I think the knowledge that they actually, that our our parents and our great grandparents, actually came up with. It's something that nobody actually took time to actually explain to me, until I actually came across, what Prabhupada said about it, and how effective the antiseptic qualities of cows do are,
And I mean,
and
it's interesting that across the planet,
yes.
it's sort of just known. And so, lending to this point of how the Vedas are actually a knowledge system, for the entire planet, what to speak, the planet, the whole universe,
True.
and the
True.
people just accepted it. If it's mentioned in the Vedas, at least where it's written, then people would accept, although it
Yeah.
seems contradictory. But if you say it's from the Vedas, then it's like, okay.
Yeah. It's collected and documented over time. Yeah. Yeah. And I also liked the how he actually goes into Maya, and also, society in the introduction, how he actually delves into the
Just take
society.
society. I like that
Yeah.
because
Yeah.
we're living in a very interesting society. I think
Yeah.
maybe let's look at what does Isopanisad bring to the table for modern man and today's
Yeah.
society?
Mm.
From anywhere in the book, what do you think you found as revolutionary that, if society could adopt or look at it, could really help us a lot?
Yeah, I think that the one thing was, it's more about the responsibilities, and by like highlighting on the divisions. It's one of the things that has actually brought a lot of clarity in terms of the different roles that members of society can actually play in making sure that we uphold dharma in the societies that we live in, and the role that we need to play in society to uphold dharma. All of us have got different qualities and capabilities,
Mm.
and in the divisions, I'm sure that when you read through the different divisions, the brahmanas, kshatriyas, vaishyas, sudras, there is somewhere where you can actually place yourself, and how he actually says what this part of society is responsible for according to dharma. It's something that I think for me is a great way of actually um giving you a purpose in life and in society, and brings that kind of order that is actually the one that is lacking in our societies that we live in. And I
Just want
think
to appreciate.
the Sri Ishopanishad is very, very important in terms of that. And it just not only focuses on that relationship between you and God, and the different levels that you can relate to God, but also on how you can also be an effective person with regards to Dharma in your society.
How did you find yourself? Where did you find that it placed you?
It placed me within
Oh,
the
in those
sutras,
divisions, how do you find that?
yeah, the sutras, and what the sutras are supposed to be doing in society,
Mm,
and then I started finding my purpose
mm,
as a sutra,
mm.
and my responsibility as a sutra, in the life that I am living, and yeah, just made my life so much easier, with regards to purpose.
Any takers on that? How
Mhm.
did you find yourself now?
I don't know if I found myself there. I think in many of them, but definitely the sutras I can relate to Kulafila Prabhu on that point. That yeah, definitely working class. Just, no, it's just a lower former person trying to get higher knowledge. A lot of the time, there was a lot of introspection within the text. So, like as you're reading, you're like, "Wow, I'm seeing myself. They are talking about me." In ways that are, even when society tries to be critical of a person, they miss the point. It's very superficial because it doesn't really enter into the core of who you are and some of the thoughts that you may have, because there are so many things that are concealing the self. And we can diagnose different points according to our psychology, according to our anatomy, according to this and that. But like the actual self, it's very difficult to give a diagnosis of the things that are happening around us, with us, to us, about us. And then the books really do that. And like Kulupu was saying, the responsibility. In the very beginning, we were reading, when as we were reading the book, it was like very close to elections, and then elections, and then after, and we could just see like the difference, the leaders that are leading us, what they're, and then what we're supposed to expect of them from the books. And you're just like, let's forget about this whole thing. We're not led. We don't have leaders. Can we even lead ourselves? That was another thing. Like, because the first couple of chapters were like looking at the leaders, like being very critical of them, and then it like reflects on the self, like you're also your leader, you're also the leader of the self, and what are you doing? And I was just like, wow, introspectively, I'm also failing myself in so many ways. I'm failing myself into attaining these positions, into coming up into my consciousness, for a variety of things and so many distractions that we have. But also because it's easier to do that. Like it's way easier to be distracted than to take responsibility. Um, yeah, so I found that part, and I thank you, Prabhu, for that point, because I was going to speak about just the leaders, but I do see the element of being responsible for yourself, and also being responsible for your community, and also holding other people responsible, especially people who are in leadership positions, because they have so much to do with how they control our lives, and in the outputs that we have later on in life. So it's very important that we hold them accountable whilst we hold ourselves accountable. That's my 2 cents.
Itumeleng, how are you? I just wanted to first appreciate at some point the color of your duke, I think Isopanisad is doing wonders.
That's hilarious. It doesn't suit me, I'm sorry. But it is my favorite color. What was the question? I missed the first. I missed the basis of your conversation.
We were just reflecting on the impact of the reading in Isopanisad, and sort of the current thread now was on how do we find ourselves being impacted in terms of what's my contribution in society, and also we're looking at leadership, and just how is the book helping us to see the leadership in society, ourselves as leaders.
Ourselves as leaders. Woo! Goodness gracious. So where do I see myself?
Yes, please.
I used to confidently see myself as a Kshatriya. I was just like, well, I did law, so I must be the protector of the people. That the logical sense. I fight for justice, so I'm at the forefront, apparently, at least the law book suggests that, or the law school suggests you at the forefront of democracy and justice and fairness. And so yeah, that's the identity I formed, or had formed a conception of self around. And it made perfect sense because I have the paper to prove it. But then you come into your own personal space and your own life, and sometimes those values and those principles you can't uphold yourself. So then you feel, what is this hypocrisy that I carry within me? So maybe I have less of that, or maybe I have a combination of many natures, Shatra being one of them, but Shudra definitely being one as well. Just because of my lack of knowledge how to um, be consistently the same in any situation that I'm in. Um, and I think that that's what the Brahmanas show. They are consistent. They never change their position. They never change who they are. They're consistently truthful. They consistently, sharing knowledge of the Supreme to everybody. Whereas, and they self interest or their interest towards everybody and themselves is consistently the same. It doesn't change when circumstances change. So yeah, that glaring hypocrisy stands out when you deal with spiritual matters. So, am I a leader? I'm working on it. I am working on it.
Yeah, thank you for that. And the one thing about it that came to me as I was hearing every day different readings is that we kind of are forced to really reflect on these words as we hear them and as we repeat them for others hearing. It's like it puts a mirror in front of us, and actually it's so refreshing to see that sometimes we may think this mirror is only to my face, but as everyone reads and goes through that same experience, and you see that no, Krishna is actually addressing all of us.
Everyone. Yeah.
Yeah.
That's why we don't want to read because we don't want to be held accountable.
Yeah, we're not
And it's
there
worse
yet.
when you hold yourself to account.
Mm.
I don't mind people holding you to account, but when you have to hold yourself to account, it's like, damn, it burns.
And about the age of Kalinje, it's actually named like that. It's the age of hypocrisy. And I could say in one sense, it's like, even as someone who has to speak on this knowledge or so teach it sometimes, even I feel like that this is not just for me to share it with others. It's talking to me. And maybe the louder I try to speak it, the more I may hear it. And at the same time, as I speak it, I also understand like, people are just like sometimes just thinking like, why do we have to come and hear these things? Like you feel like you're bothering people. You have to gather them to come and hear this stuff because they don't want to hear it.
Yeah, it's
Yeah,
true.
it's
So
unbearable.
it's but now Krishna says hearing about him, is a big item of love, devotion. Even though we may not come up to what we're hearing or we may not be up for that standard, it's a way to purify. I think that when it's being unbearable, what are you going through inside us? Like what's happening that's making it?
Must I respond first? Kulu, you look like you're hot and
Yeah,
ready to respond.
you can take that one.
I want to pass the back. I'm passing. Namsa, go.
Oh, it's a difficult one. I'll let my elders go first and I'll follow.
Just maybe rephrase the question, Mr. Samia.
Basically, I just want us to sort of look at what makes us uncomfortable with hearing, especially this knowledge of Shrimad Bhagavatam. Like, what in us is feeling like, oh, if I hear this stuff,
For me, it's the
because
attraction.
I find this church.
Sorry, was I? Did I cut
You're
someone?
saying
I'm
about
not.
attraction?
Oh yeah, for me it's the attraction. Because you know how you always say like my relationship with Krishna is just complicated.
Yeah.
And so sometimes for my own sanity, I needed to remain just complicated. And so the more I hear, the more it's the more he sounds attractive. And the more actually there was also a part where you were discussing in your Q&A about, I think I asked like why is it that Krishna is beyond reproach? And that stuck with me because it's like no, but I feel that you acted wrongly, so you must be reproached and by me. And so the more I hear, it's like he takes ultimately the supreme position and there's nothing I can do about it. And it's not in a negative sense. It's just one, it just factually is what it is. And two, it's attractively so. So it's like the more you hear, the more you can't help but want to move forward, but you're resisting. And he's like, no, don't resist. I'm like, no, because so that's for me, that's the dilemma. It's like, I want to stay here because I'm mad. But he's like, come, come. No, no.
There's a charmer like that, no?
He's
Krishna.
such a charmer. It's just frustrating.
Yeah, and I think that's just how he set the trap, for lack of a better word, is that the more we try to fight this web that Krishna has woven, the more we're entangled with it, you know. And you hear about the pure devotees like the gopis. They are like, I don't want to hear anything about Krishna. I want to stop talking about this Krishna, but this Krishna is like this and like this. No, 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 I shouldn't talk about Krishna because Krishna.
Yeah.
And but that's a relationship. Just to note something. That's what it's meant. It is meant by a personal relationship. That you're going through it with Krishna.
Definitely. I think for me on this point, I can completely agree with you, Itu. I have a very similar relationship with Krishna in that I'm like, catch me then I'll fall. You know that analogy that I think it's Kananda Swami makes. So I still have the catch me and then I'll fall, as opposed to let me fall and then I'll be caught. So it's complicated. But for me, why it's so difficult to come to this, to reading, to hearing, is that it's infallible, man. Like you can't it's true. And you can't like, man, you can try and critique it in every way, in every form. You can try and be as philosophical, you can try and be, you can be the hardest head on earth. But at the end of the day, when you like had a conversation with someone and like the things start running in your mind, like it's like in the all true. It's like that. Like you can deny it, you can just like, oh no, I'm not gonna listen to these people, they're mad, they this, whatever. But it's like at the end of the day, when you're like sitting with your thoughts, you're like, yeah, actually, you know what? And that's the part that's like super uncomfortable. Like for someone to know something to be absolutely true and you can't like have another side to it, there's no balance, there's no, let's look at it from this perspective. It's something that's not really offered here on earth. And when we do have something that's so fixed in that way, we just throw it away. We throw it out. We say immediately there's something wrong with this, because you can't see multiple sides of it. um and I that's then the problem that I have. Of course, there are multiple sides of it in the sense that you can like navigate it in different ways, but the truth is the truth, as the truth is the truth. Like as it's said so simply, that's the problem. Like, it's, why is it so simple? Why is it so true? Why can't I just be like, no, I don't want to? And even when I do, why am I like, at the end of the day, still like, why does it have a chokehold on me? I don't like that. Like I feel like I have no autonomy of thought thereafter. Like I don't want that. Like I still want to be like removed from it and like observe it. And it doesn't give you that opportunity because it's like, this is it.
It's live.
Mm.
Yeah. It's just too real. And we are so used to like fantasy
Fake
land.
news.
Yeah, yeah. I think for myself, I think, as human beings, we always come up with our own ideas and try to give our own understanding, about life itself and our relationship to God and what God can do for us and what we can do for us, what we are supposed to do for God and what He is supposed to do for us. And for me, the one thing about Sri Isopanisad was that it was just too, how can I put it, too honest, too straightforward, too revealing, you know, in terms of the truth and how anything aside, anything next to is just next to, and there is just one truth, and that is it. Whether I think of it as next to or there is just one, you know, perception, and that's it. And it has made that, it made a whole lot of doubts clearer, even though I didn't want to accept it, in most cases, the clarity is just, it's just too too straightforward, if I may put it that way. There's no beating around the bush, and the truth is the truth. It's not anumana evidence type of thing. No, it's actually sabda. It's like that, and that's it, and finish and clar. That's the bottom line. Whether you think of it, whether when you think about being vegetarian and you think that you are doing a very good thing, and you find out that there is verses even in the Vedas that tell you that if you do not offer that food to Krishna, it's like you are eating sin, even if you are having vegetarian food. I would love to know that having vegetarian food is like a very good deed, and I am doing a very auspicious, an auspicious deed. And then, boom, one of the mantras just tells you, yo, bro, you have to offer that food, and only when you offer that food will it become the right thing that you are doing, and everything that actually is in line with the Vedas is just so explicitly, mentioned, and to a point to say that, but I've been, and you're like, okay, I accept, and I've had to like really, accept, the truth in a very enlightening way, and in a way that I never thought actually, existed.
We should get the Narottam Prabhu. You give us your realization, what you've been hearing, not just hearing our conversation, but you please chip in.
You must come through.
I'll send you the link now. You just showed us that you have internet.
Yeah.
So I'm sending you the link. And even if you just show 5 minutes, I know.
Yeah, I concur.
No,
Yes.
but he'll be considering that, coming on a live presentation, how, you can't just. I know today he's been working on the billboard. He sent me some videos, welding and trying to get the framework going. I my thoughts, with Isopanisad was that
Not shedding.
Let's say the South African excuse. Everyone you can just have no shedding, and that sorts out
I should have used that one. I didn't think. Oh, you see, Brahmanas, aren't they quick thinkers? I should have consulted.
It came to the foreground that actually education is really where the big problem is that there's these two dimensions, the material and the spiritual. And our civilization and our conditioning is that we're so absorbed in the materialistic way of seeing. I'm the body, this world is my home, these are the objects for my happiness that deal with my senses. But we're completely kept in the dark as to I am the soul and my home is the spiritual world. Krishna is the source of all that I aspire and desire in terms of happiness, satisfaction. Success has to do with me, the soul. And so when that information comes in relation to who I really am, it's very uncomfortable because, I've made so many deposits into this identity that's in relation to the body. And so society is hardwired to maintaining this dream, this idea that no, if we do this, we will. How can billions of people get it wrong? And Krishna is saying, nah, this is just like a spark of my splendor and it's my illusory energy. Now Prabhupada likes, it says it's a colossal hoax. And so these pages of Isopanisad keep bringing that up, like, yo, this is not where it's at. And we're like, well, but like if we do environmentalism, if we do like philanthropy, like if we try to,
socialism.
Yeah, so many isms. But then, also one thing is that as harsh as it may come off because it seems to attack what we hold dear, it's so liberal and accommodating because it's saying, no, these things can be done, but bring it into the light of Krishna. Bring it to the spiritual identity, So we laugh and we watch each other read, right? And when those type of points come and Papa kind of hits, you can see the speaker being hit on behalf of the whole of society, like, yeah. Yes.
Oh no, I was going to say that very point that I'm seeing Bongisipo is on the call, but every time we speak, there's a feedback from him.
Then he falls out to get in.
So let's try and give him a chance also to put his inputs, and then we can also listen.
Whoa.
Okay.
Your picture's it's frozen when you're at your gravest.
No sound. Can he probably switch off the video and try and do an audio thing? Maybe he will be able to.
Yeah, if you can hear us, people, maybe try putting off your video. I think it's been hanging for a while. Yeah. Anyway, in the meantime, as the song made whole of South Africa go crazy.
I don't know what you're talking about. I don't know.
I don't know that song.
What are you talking about?
And that's generally our A game, right? We're so bombarded with this whole stupid world that I come to Isopanisad and I just realize, wow, I'm really in the material world, and it's just like, there's too much of that, and that's why we're being asked to really hear and chant. It's almost like to dilute this influence, this drug that's just got us like, oh.
I have a question, but I don't know how to phrase it. But it's around like compassion, and I feel like sometimes it could be like this Hare Krishna, the spiritual world is a be all and end all. It's almost like you just don't care about reflecting compassion to the world, and to people within this world, because not everyone is going to be, or not everyone's going to see things the way that Hare Krishnas might, or the
This is a setup for like, it's a setup for a machine gun, your point already. Like my mind is already just like, what do you mean compassion? It's all about compassion. To tell you the truth, this is compassion. I remember, what was this one point? I think you were reading one of the days. Prabhupada's talking about a gentleman. If he sees someone walking towards the edge of a cliff or something, he will call out to say, hey, watch out, and even really charge and grab the person. And so this is like a loud horn saying, yo, there's a cliff. You're walking over a cliff, stop.
No, but so here's the thing though. If you blow this large horn, there's so many factors that could influence why this person can't hear. He could be deaf. The sound might be intercepted by an aeroplane. There's so many things. So the most compassionate person would probably build a bridge to help the man who's trying to get over the cliff get to the other side. How long would
you, like you're walking towards the cliff, and let's try to construct this.
Probably one person will.
First, let's get your attention. I think, in one sense, I get what you mean.
Yes.
But what I'm saying is like the Vedas are compared to the mother, right? And the spiritual master to the father. So out of love, the mother sometimes is shouting at the child, stop, to protect the child from putting the hand in the fire. But then once the child sort of gets the attention of the mother, sometimes they're stunned, like almost like headlights syndrome. Like, yeah. And then, no, baby. If you no, come here, here's a sweet for you, and all these things. So Krishna consciousness is, the knowledge is starting at a point where it has to wake us up first. And then once we recognize something is not right, or we're feeling challenged by what we're hearing, then we can start to evaluate what is it particularly that's keeping you drugged. And so how can we help you to snap out of these drugs that you're stuck with in this material world? So I think that is there. And that's where the compassion now becomes this, because we all have to get old together. I don't know if you've realized that point. All of us, like here, I wish that I see that we're in this hospital, and I should be bent back, and I should still see you guys, walking around still entangled with Krishna. So the compassionate thing is the long haul of it, that we have to realize we have different degrees of being drugged by material energy, and we have to work towards rehabilitation. But initially, Prabhupada, he has to speak to the diseased, to the drugged, with one loud hailer. And there's no time to hear all the bridge work as you are hearing Isopanisad. It's like, it just has to like, this is the situation. It's like this, it's like that, it's like this. And then those who like relate to some of it and say, hey, but why are you saying this whole civilization is like S's? Then you come and say, oh, no. because you're working so hard just to get something that is not satisfying you, and there's death. You think you're so advanced, but you haven't solved this big problem of death and old age and disease.
Can I also jump in there?
Please, please.
I was also going to mention time. I think time we think we have a lot of time, but we also don't have
Mm,
that much time. And I think this is one of those, like, catch it quickly. Like, this is what's happening, and like you telling your friend on a run, like, let's go. This is bad. Like, we in
mm,
danger. Let's run forward. And it's like, if you have the time to be like, you see, this is bad. By the time you finish
mm,
telling the story so eloquently or so beautifully, then death has come or whatever else
mm,
has come. So I'm also just thinking, like, it's compassionate, like the example that Prabhupada gives, in the sense that you are helping the person in the moment, because to
mm,
explain that, hey, look, you might just fall if you do, like, it's you don't have that much time. It's like
mm.
getting the person's attention in that moment and then trying to get them out of danger, as opposed to um the dance that we do, the tango that we do around all of these issues. But
Mm.
I'm still here to hear what the rest of your point. I don't know if that was it. Itu.
Yes, Itu, please, yes, elaborate on the compassion.
Sorry, I swear I'm not devil's advocate on purpose. Um, I
No,
I
no,
definitely
we love it. We appreciate it.
I
It's
feel the
honest.
time thing. I really do feel the time thing. But here's the thing with the time thing, right? Is if we all from birth started our journeys in Krishna consciousness or Bhakti yoga, wouldn't that be easier? Because there's so many obstacles along the way, like so many hiccups, so many this, so many that. And it builds such a sense of anxiety. And I feel like a lot of people are almost discouraged because of the enormity of the weight of time and how much time there is, and whether this idea of going back to Godhead within this lifetime is actually even realistic or even possible, because there's the enormity of the time and the weight of the world and everything that happens in the world. And then you hear the verses where Krishna is promising, well, if you don't make it in this lifetime, it's okay. You can make it up in the next lifetime. For me, it gives me such a headache. It's like, I get you. Time is, it's like a blip in our world in comparison to time against the demigods and the other planets. But for me, I relate to this blip of time, and it, trying to conceptualize having another go at it in my next lifetime is almost discouraging.
Mhm. Uh,
So,
it brings out, to my mind the need for that collective effort, because it's a big task to be given to an individual, enmeshed in this world, which, okay, you're going to solve this problem of repeated birth and death in this one life. And unezinto zakho nje, and your own aspirations. There's family here, there's money things, there's relationships. Yeah, it's like a big ask. But there's this analogy in the Bhagavad Gita about the boat of transcendental knowledge. That once one is situated on it, then it will ferry us across. I feel that when there's very vibrant association, very good chanting and hearing and interaction and community, that it makes it easy. It's like we're just on this boat. You won't even feel that much of it being a job. Next thing, it will be docking at the spiritual world. But because we are isolated, and we're trying to work it out individually, when you're not strong at that and you're alone, Ekaki Amara Nahipaya Bala Harinama Sankirtan Nartam Dastaku says, alone I find no strength to chant the holy name. Therefore I'm crying. Amito Kangala Krishna Krishna Boli Daitava Pachi Pachi. I'm running after the Vaishnavas. I'm saying that you have Krishna and you can give Krishna to me. So that anxiety means one has heard nicely and wants to achieve the goal. I feel like that. So it's in a stress of not being Krishna conscious, or at least Krishna conscious enough. We lie, cut the grade, and that type of anxiety is wonderful. But it may not, it shouldn't weigh heavy on us that we're depressed and stressed. If we're in the association where there's nice relationships, there's nice service opportunities, and then it makes it very doable. But in isolation, yeah, it can be very stressful because you're facing this hill that you want to scale and you find you're alone. What do you think of that? Because I'm speaking this from having lived in temples and temples that were alive. That that time factor is like you just don't know what happened to 5 years of your life. It's one big kirtan and prasadam and Krishna, Krishna, Krishna. But once that is not there, then it's just like, yo, yeah, in February, where will I be? Now this is like life becomes long and a lot of planning and thinking. Wongisipo, please say something before you disappear. Unmute, yeah. I think you're just going to be making cameos. Nomsa, you wanted to say something?
I even forgot. I was like really hoping Munisipu would be able to say something. I was just remembering something that is when Ito was talking about how if she was born into Krishna consciousness, how things might be easier. If we're all born into Krishna consciousness, things might be easy. There was this one time we had a Vaishnavi Sangha at Vids, and there were a couple of other Vaishnavis who were born into Krishna consciousness. So they've known about the movement from birth. They've lived with a very senior sannyasis. They've hosted them in their homes, and they were shocked at us. I don't know if she remembers this. That they were shocked at us that we were imbibing Krishna consciousness so much because for them it was like, something that sort of is just there. It's like what we do in the family, sort of like how we might have experienced going to church on a Sunday. It's like, yeah, something we do. Um, there's an advantage in it 100% because you do it and it's done and it's like it's a part of your life. You don't have to really have to learn a lot of things like how we are. But there's something about finding um, something you like and finding God. I don't want to say independently because it's not really independently, but like for yourself, like having to come to this place for yourself that is um, more enriching than just having like, hey, here's something, and then it's like being given something on a silver plate. You didn't really work so hard for it. You don't understand it. You might question so much about it, make more mistakes than you would have otherwise, and not have that appreciation for it. Only appreciate it much later in life, and have squandered so many opportunities. Um, but I was remembering that particular incident that happened and how we were in awe, like we want to be them and they want to be us, and it's just like, okay, so what do we do now? Um, I guess, yeah, like having these sanghas and having banging kirtans is probably how we bridge the gap. um, I don't know if that answers your question, but I think Sally said she put it very beautifully about the time and all of that.
These issues are actually the perfect analogy for where I am spiritually right now, feeling a bit disconnected and watching my life from the sidelines. Any advice? Yeah, it would need some specifics, but in general, yeah, disconnection is never a good feeling. Why and how does Krishna go out of his way in order to help me indulge in the things that keep me in the cycle of birth and death? Well, it's not Krishna going out of his way. It's we are the ones that want to indulge in these things, but Krishna is giving us those opportunities so we can choose. It also speaks to the point of sometimes born into a situation of Krishna consciousness where you may feel Krishna consciousness is imposed on you. And your life has always been sattvic, you're following the principles as a lifestyle from young. And you haven't experienced the problems of not following these principles. You see, so now when we are indulging in matter, and then matter is giving us the whip, then we can make an informed choice that, yeah, yes, I'm doing this thing and I have done it. It still doesn't take me any higher to what I need. But that responsibility is on me. I am doing these things. Krishna has given all the choices out there. Why don't I indulge in chanting and reading all the time and overdose on that? So material energy works for Krishna, and her job is thankless that she wants to make sure that those who come to Krishna are just ready for Krishna and want that spiritual experience. And so what she'll do, she'll keep bringing the things that we are attached to, that we struggle with in the material nature. Yeah. And to see, you want Krishna, you want this. And then, okay, we choose matter. And then you think, oh, it's cheating me again. Then you think, but Krishna, you watch me take it. You should have rescued me. Krishna says you have some power. Basically, it's that there is no way that we can not serve Krishna. It's either we're serving his external energy or we are serving the internal energy. So we think we have a choice. Like I could do something else, but there's only service to Krishna. But serving his external energy comes with a dissatisfaction, misery, temporariness, disappointment, and just those friends. And serving Krishna also comes with this disappointment, frustration, struggle, difficulty, but it's always substantial. You're always gaining. It's like it may seem like gain, but it's all just a bunch of zeros, and it yields further entanglement. So only in that strong, fenced, gated community of devotees are we protected from our conditioning that keeps tossing us back into the abusive relationship with Maya. No, but now I'm no longer getting beaten by Maya, and now it's like life is lousy. Let me just agitate her so that I can see she still cares. So we have to toughen up in that. Let me just become surrendered to the devotees, and this word comes up, and every time we cringe.
Yeah.
We have to give ourselves over to be managed, to be engaged, to be guided, and that gives us the ability to manage and guide ourselves. You see, it said even the guru, the teacher, the right teacher is one who himself is a student. The guru who will be the right guru, he's a disciple. He's also under discipline of someone. So if you don't give yourself to be managed and disciplined, our minds will manage us and discipline us by just cheating us one way. Okay, that last phrase was seemed optimistic. Now I see you're very pensive. Speak something. So we'll give ourselves some few more comments and start to wind up. At least we've been at it for an hour a little bit. Kulufelo, somehow I can't hear you.
We can't hear you, Prabhu. And now you, yeah.
Okay. So in the meantime, we just have to take up some serene acceptance.
Hello?
Yeah, we're entangled with Krishna now, and we just have to stick
Yes.
with it.
Yeah, so I was just asking about the whole analogy of rebirth in Krishna consciousness when you become, or when you realize Krishna consciousness. Is there some form of a rebirth in your life? Are you getting born again? And if that is the case, are there benefits to that? And what are the benefits? And if you were to explain it to somebody that didn't grow with Krishna consciousness, and actually convince them to say that becoming Krishna consciousness at 20 and 31 and at 1 is exactly the same. Is it exactly the same? Is it something that can be the same?
You know, I mean, it's always a case by case sell, but you can tell someone if you think you're having difficulties um, in your knowledge of why things are happening, in your quality of how I feel a bit empty. I don't feel as satisfied as I want to. You want to know, is there God? Who is God? Is there another life after this one ends? So Krishna consciousness, by giving you the answers to such questions, relieves you from the blind spots that create anxiety and uncertainty in your life. So knowledge is very important to uplift our awareness of what is going on. And it gives us more options. It helps us to see our current situation in relation to a bigger picture. So the advice is always there to try and read this information, like we've been reading the Isopanisad, and really take in the perspectives that are being given, because we don't think like that. We may have not known about Krishna. We don't know so many things. But when we take that on board, let's see what world becomes available to our vision. And that's a powerful step. And that step of getting knowledge will allow you to make a decision. Do I want to get more clarity on this issue or that issue or the other? And you get exposed to some techniques that could be applied to remedy certain situations in our life. So come as you are, get some knowledge, and the knowledge will give you better options in life. And as you apply the knowledge, it will give you concrete acceptance of the theory that you've acquired. And then it becomes your truth because you've verified it. So I would, yeah, give that one first. I think from the knowledge, everything is, you get the why. Why should I do this? Why should I not do that? And then you can weigh it out in your own life. On Sunday, we have a very wonderful Sunday morning inspiration session at 10 with His Holiness Shri Krishna Chaitanya Swami. And we'll invite whoever sees the stream later or seeing it now, come through at 10 o'clock. So final snapshots on Isopanisad. Should we start it over and read it again? I think that would be powerful.
I think so too. It'd be really nice to read it again, but maybe on to the next one. Read it again in our own time, and give more reflections about it. But it would be very powerful still. I'm just curious which book we're going to read next.
Yes, it's the Demon Crazy Society. There are some thoughts, and yes, Bongi. Kuluma Baba. Singamula umnyaka ngayiphi incwadi ba?
Yes, with a new one.
I see some suggestions. Nectar of Devotion. There's the. You see, I think we should also look at, if we're willing to even go up to 40 minutes plus, or some of the books, if we give segments, then the purpose may be slightly longer. I think something like Nectar of Instruction is a book that we could do and sort of complete. Again, it comes in with its preliminaries. I know Itimen is already thinking, oh no. Some more truth, you know. It's not easy. Actually, this point reinforces to me always that alone we cannot manage ourselves. You know, we just cannot do the right thing if we are our own gurus. It's like spiritual life really means under the shelter of other devotees, some program, you know, and that things that oblige us to take part. And that's why then these books always asking us. This Tulanang says also Nectar of Devotion.
I sense
because it comes in segments, you know, we can put a time if we're doing about half an hour reading. So, you know, the different blocks of it, as you can stop because, you know, the time is around that, and then you've done a section.
you can do a poll. I would do a poll between, the different books. What Nectar of Devotion, but I sense bribery already. Nectar of Instruction, as you say, and the main man, the Bhagavad Gita.
But Bhagavad Gita is do verse by verse.
We can do it in segments, you know.
because we already did the introduction to Bhagavad Gita.
All right.
Yeah, we've done the introduction.
I still think, yeah, you can do a chapter, then skip it. Another, I don't know. Anyway, I'm probably speaking so much rubbish. Yeah.
No, I know this need for variety. So these are big books, right? So if you like, we can do a chapter here, be done with it, do a chapter of Noms.
Because it's the end of the year and you want to have a good time, nothing too hectic, light meals, light things. I'm thinking just to end it off on a very light note, chant and be happy. It's like,
that is nice.
It's
That's a very nice book.
Yeah, that is nice.
So that's unanimous decision right there. So we're starting chanting Be Happy tomorrow. Yes, we'll have to be in touch with Upule and see if he's available to do his sets tomorrow. And yes. Okay. That's the same person.
Oh.
Yeah, Pule is gross. It's gross. Pule.
I said nothing, just said. Okay.
So siyabonga kakhulu the devotees. And thank you for anyone who's been taking part, watching online. Yeah, please go to the channels, Wusa on YouTube and Facebook. Give a like, share, comment, subscribe on our YouTube channel. Let's make this wisdom go viral, as they say, and let it become a virus in our own lives, that we become seers of the world through the eyes of this knowledge. So we'll be back, and we wish we could expand the week, and get other personalities to read. Maybe we'll find some creativity to get more slots in. So as we do the bigger books, we could probably get some days where there's 2 broadcasts, in a day. And some individuals have also said they'd like to get involved. So siyani appreciate nonke. Itumeleng Kulufelo Nomusa Bungsipho Khosi Atmatatva Prabhu for
I vote Atmatatva will come out in front of the screen and read chant and be happy.
Yes, me too.
Yeah. In fact, I think he must do the introduction, and that's it.
Yes.
Yeah, kick it off.
He must just kick it off for us and then leave us.
Let's see ways. Yes, we voted. So
the people who control the power.
Mr. DJ, please.
Mr. DJ.
What does that mean, Atma?
I
don't know. So Srila Prabhupada is going to take us far, people, and he's going to take the world far. Let us continue to share him with the world. Just hold on to Uncle Prabhupada, and everything's going to be all right. Thank you very much. I think we should do this more often, where we're all coming on and just kind of speaking.
Definitely, I agree. It is like no, but I'm like yes, we should do it more.
I need to learn all the technicalities so that I can move backstage.
I like this.
I think this is Indian speak. When she's saying no, she's saying yes.
He's actually saying yes.
Yes.
I did a veer her my You have to move your head a particular way. I didn't do
I don't
that.
know. It's like
I didn't do this. I said go.
Meaning yes.
Uchaluk Krishna.
I think this should happen at the end of every chapter of a book that you read. We just come together and just reflect on the chapter, and then talk about all the important points of the chapter. And yeah, because it's just way too much information in one chapter. I've realized, like, letting 3 mantras go and then try to like somehow summarize it in like 1 hour is very it's very difficult, because you just have so many questions, and some of the questions they just disappear in the whole discussion. So I think for each and every chapter we should actually come together so that we can reflect on what we have learned and the questions that you might have.
Actually, this is an important point. Next time, then noted points. You can come in.
Yes.
Because here tonight we're just kind of freestyling, actually.
Yeah.
Okay, we can do that and make sure we note our points and then.
Okay. Yeah.
Books are the basis. Book club key.
Jai.
Srila Prabhupada key.
Jai.
Okay,